Flip, 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 Flip Weekly.
Hello and welcome to the Flip Weekly podcast. My name is Matt. I am your host. This is a podcast all about reselling. We go to thrift stores, garage sales, Facebook Marketplace. We find things online and in store that we can resell and make a bit of money. This week, we are all about negative feedback. I'm going to go through my very first negative feedback that was deserved. I deserve this negative feedback. I'm going to talk to you about the items that I bought in thrift stores. I'm going to talk about everything that I sold this week. There's a lot there. There's some awesome pickups, awesome sales, some really cool Facebook Marketplace pickups too, and thrift stores. But man, I need to talk about this negative feedback because it's been weighing on me all of this week. This entire week I've been thinking about this guy, thinking about how I wanted to respond. We had a back and forth. Some words were exchanged. I may have been prodding this guy. He was not having a good day. I do not recommend talking to your buyers the way that I was talking to this guy. I didn't say anything wrong, but he kept the insults coming towards me, and I'm like, I'm just going to keep, f***ing with them. If he's going to call me names, I'm just going to keep f***ing with you. I was 100% willing to solve this problem for him until he started saying, to me, I don't really care about the words, but he said some awful things. Right? This is what happened. I got my first negative feedback, and it's because I was at fault. I sent an item that was damaged in the post. And what that item was, it was a DVD box set of Pokemon that I sold last week. If you listen to last week's podcast, you would see that this guy had an unusual request. So I sold this DVD box set of Pokemon for $72 free post. The guy asked a few questions before he bought it. It was mostly about the condition, and then he sent through this lowball offer. So I refused that offer, and the buyer accepted the original asking price. He bought it. Everything seemed okay, but I should have known this is a red flag. Whenever you get a message, in most cases from somebody on eBay asking questions, it's not going to end well. I don't know why that is, but it seems to just be a recurring theme from all of the resellers, eBay sellers that I know. If a buyer asks a question, it's either going to be an issue later on, or this person is just not going to buy it. Questions equals bad buyer. We should put that to the test one day. Scientific study, right? Let's all chip in. We'll do a scientific study. Why does that happen? So I refused his lowball asking price. He bought it for, I guess it was full price at the time, $72 marked down from, I think it was like $100. I was running like a 20% off sale. That's when he lowballed me on top of the 20% off. Free post. This is a DVD box set. It was going to cost more than $10 to ship it off. I didn't want to sell it for his lowball price. I wouldn't have made any money. So he bought it, and then his request to me was write something nice about him. He said, please can you write something nice about me on a note and put it in the package too. Now, if we were doing those scientific studies, this is another red flag. Who asks a random person on the internet to write something nice about them? I don't know you. It's unusual. It's weird. But the thing is, not a deal breaker. Really isn't a deal breaker. If you send me money, yes, I will write something nice about you just to keep you happy. That ended up not mattering. But I wrote him a note. I drew a Pikachu. He was buying a Pokemon item. I drew a Pikachu. I come up with a unique rhyme. A unique rhyme for him saying, what was it? Roses are red, violets are blue. Pikachu says, I choose you. Very unique. Creative. It was my creative outlet for the week. I drew a Pikachu. I bought the markers from Officeworks. A black outline, yellow body, red cheeks. He looked amazing. You can see photos of that on flipweekly.com. He looks like the best Pikachu you've ever seen. And then I received a message from him after it had been delivered. So on Tuesday, he sends me a message and he says, hi, it came today. I'm going to put a little voice on him too. If I actually had a impression, it would be like a little boy. But it sounds worse if I do a little boy voice, because then you're going to take his side, right? You got to take my side. So he says, Hi, it came today. Unfortunately, the corners are a bit banged up. I think an item this heavy needs at least some bubble wrap around it when posting. So the buyer gives me some shipping tips. That's fine, right? He's completely right. I sent an item inside of a padded mailer, and if you send an item and it arrives damaged, you didn't do your job of protecting it from the professional shot putters known as Australia Post mailman. I didn't do my job. I didn't protect it. Now, what I should have done, besides properly wrapping this thing, I should have sent through a message asking for photos. I should have asked what the damage was. However, the guy didn't send a question. He didn't ask for a return. There was no requests in there. It's Tuesday. It's one of my busiest days. No excuse. It just slipped my mind. I continued living my life. At the same time, I'm thinking, like, you know, I gave you a nice little Pikachu drawing. He didn't say, oh, thanks for the Pikachu. Anyway, a couple of days go by. I'm living my life. Saturday rolls along. It's Saturday night, 11:45 p.m. at midnight. I don't know what I'm doing. Absolutely nothing productive. Nothing productive happens at 11:45 p.m. when this guy sends me through another message, and he says, with my impression of him in this voice, I'll just leave negative feedback and contact support tomorrow if you don't reply. Or you can send me $20. I don't know why anyone would send such a heavy item with no bubble wrap. Corners all bent and dinged as expected in post. So I received this message late on that Saturday night, and I'm thinking back to how I usually post items. You know, if in most cases, if they're worth a lot of money, I'll go above and beyond, right? Like the Wiggles TV that we sold a couple of weeks back. That was a heavy duty box. There was foam, there was bubble wrap, there was packing peanuts, there was butcher's paper. I mean, some of the boxes that I've bought this year alone, and I'm not even kidding, have cost me $100 just for the box. I'm going to tell you about that a bit later on in the year. But I like to put effort into shipping, I guess, when I think the item deserves it, right? Now, this is a $72 item with free postage. I admit it could have been packed better. That's my admission. That isn't to say that I expected it to arrive all dinged up, right? Like quite often I put books, I put DVDs worth big money. It was just the other day on Instagram, you would have seen me and somebody called me out on Instagram saying, you're putting $200 books in a padded mailer? Yeah, because it's been fine in the past. They've arrived fine, right? It's Australia Post's like official postage mailer method thing. They flaunt it on their website saying they offer barrier bubble cushioning, right? Sometimes I'll double or triple bag them, but when I think they need it. Okay. So I responded almost instantly to that message from him at 11:45 p.m. at night on a Saturday. And I just say, hi. Wait, I need to do a voice that makes me sound sympathetic to the jury, right? Say, hi, if you aren't happy with the item, please open a return request and I'll happily refund the purchase upon return. Matt. Put my name at the end. You know, nice guy. And then he responds a minute later. And he says, you want me to send it back as poorly packaged as I got it? Or are you going to say you sent it in a better condition when you receive it? Now, 2 minutes goes by, and I respond back, an Australia Post padded mailer is fine. So I didn't want to get into a back and forth with him at midnight on a Saturday, right? At this point, I don't want to do that. But he starts to like get on my nerves, and then I'm like, okay, I'm in this. I want to get into a back and forth with you. I'm just thinking so far, if you aren't happy with the item, open a return, I'll get you a refund. It's $72. It's not a big deal, right? It's Pokemon, you know, it's DVDs. At this point, I still hadn't seen what the damage was. I hadn't, you know, checked out how bad it was. The DVDs inside of a box, inside of a box set. DVDs would have been fine, but like anything, this guy probably wanted to display these Pokemon DVDs. The thing is, he has this like extortion attempt. You know, it's not that serious. It's $20, you know, being extorted for $20. But it really, when it comes to like eBay policy and stuff, It is a $20 feedback extortion attempt, right? He's threatening negative feedback and he's threatening a message to eBay. So it's not like rubbing me the right way. You know what I mean? It's making me, want to get into this back and forth. So he responds to me. It's clearly not. Now, this is in response to me saying, sending it back in a padded mailer is fine. It's clearly not, because I received it with the corners all dented up. What part don't you understand? You're a little slow, mate. Why not just apologize for sending something so poorly? And then 4 minutes later, I don't respond because I'm thinking he's called me slow, so let's give him a bit of time, show that I'm slow. He says, can't be bothered with you, mate. I left the feedback you're begging for. I don't know, it sounds like a bit of an Irish accent. Most of these discs won't even pull out the cover. No matter how hard I pull, it's going to rip the book. And he includes a photo of the corner where it looks like it's been scratched. It doesn't look too bad. If you're displaying this, it's not going to be something that you really see straight on. Okay. Now, again, if this is damaging the post, I'm fine with giving you a refund. But he's very clearly agitated. Saturday night, midnight. He said that he struggled to get the discs out of the sleeves. He can't get the discs out of the sleeves. He attaches that photo of the box corner. He leaves the negative feedback. And unironically, he calls me slow. Okay? And look, he's not wrong, right? Like, I buy things from thrift stores and I resell them. I'm not solving humanity's greatest problems. But I can say very proudly, I've yet to have physical media outmuscle me. Look, it was sent in a padded mailer, but then the photos that he uploaded to the return request, they're very different than what he sent to me. Like, if I was to describe the corners to you, I'd say they were minor scuffs at most. Like, you'd have to look really closely to these things to see they aren't 100% perfect. Almost like this guy is like an alt-right influencer and he's looking for imperfections in like the perfect women in this world, right? So, you know what? It reminds me of when I sent a Pokemon card inside of a box to this buyer in the US and he responded saying it was bent. And he uploaded photos and I honestly couldn't see a single thing wrong with it. I felt like, that I had that feeling of when somebody says something to you and you're like, I'm sorry, I didn't get that. And they repeat themselves like 3 times and you don't want to say a 4th time, "What? I'm sorry, I didn't get that," because I was looking at this card. I'm like, there's not a single thing wrong with it. I felt like I was being gaslit by this 15-year-old Pokemon kid. What is it about Pokemon people that are so pedantic about goddamn condition? So the dude can get a refund. He's not happy with what he's bought. I am fine with that. Before I get like any sort of chance to rectify the issue, there was that 4-minute gap where he's like, you're getting the feedback that you're begging for. It's midnight on a weekend, by the way. I've said this multiple times. He leaves the feedback. I'm going to read the feedback out to you. He says, I'm going to read this in his voice. Hopefully not go Irish on you. Avoid. Seller posted this heavy item with no bubble wrap or box, just in an Ozpost mailer. I received it with dented corners as expected for something with no protection. The seller ignored me until I said I'll post bad feedback. Then he says send it back for a refund. After going back and forward, he won't admit it was a poor way to post it or apologize for wasting my time and money. Offered refund on return of item, but when he gets it, he will say it's damaged. Poor seller and slack in general. The guy's clearly left out the fact that he wanted $20 to hold off on the negative feedback. He doesn't include any photos in his feedback. And he, makes an assumption that I'm going to lie about the condition of the item, which I'm not going to do. Sent in a padded mailer. It's obviously got scuffed. It's going to come back. It's fine. I'm just thinking now, he's making things worse because I sent him this very, very cute Walter Goggins looking Pikachu and he's just completely ignored it. He hasn't mentioned it at all. And you know what? After reading that feedback, I'm thinking, I can't have that. So after his last direct message to me, when he said, I can't be bothered with you, mate, I've left the feedback you're begging for, all I've said is, be sure to include the Pikachu note in the mailer. And he didn't like that. He was not a fan of that reply because he responds almost immediately. I sent that at 12:03 a.m. He sent his reply at 12:03 a.m. So he's checking this. He says, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. As if not just say sorry. Not a man at all. No one keeps junk that is added for free in the mailer. Now that hurts my feelings. It hurts my feelings. I put time and effort into this Pikachu. So I can't have that. So I respond to him. I respond to him at 12:12 a.m. His last message to me was at 12:04. I said, if it's been thrown out, please write something nice about me on a note and include it in the mailer. And yeah, look, at the end of the day, it should have been better protected. It really should have. But maybe it would have been if I wasn't so preoccupied buying these goddamn colored markers and this cardstock to write something nice about this boy who's lost a game of DVD tug-of-war with a millimeter of cardboard. Like, let this be a lesson to you, the reseller. Pokemon buyers, they are so meticulous with their condition. And heavy items, they need more than a padded mailer. And cards, no matter how nice your message is or how much effort you put into it, it's always going to be thrown out. Oh, by the way, this guy was seething at midnight on a Saturday. So much so that he went onto my higher valued listings, like CRT, TV, and DVD combos worth thousands of dollars. He started sending $1 offers on all of them. And the funny part is, like, it's not really a big deal. Like, what is this dude thing he's doing? Like, it doesn't affect me. You know, it's more amusing. It's like when my girl tries to squeeze me as hard as she can, you know, like, let me squeeze you. I'm like, are you trying to make me laugh or are you trying to hurt me? I legitimately cannot tell. So, look, I'm going to update you when the parcel's returned. I'm going to update you and tell you if there's a note that's been included. But look, I don't recommend that you try and, you know, annoy your frustrated buyers. It never works out well, but I'll give you a pass if they start calling you names. Then you can do that. So that's my first negative feedback. It's not going to get removed because everything said in there is basically true. It's okay because if you get a negative feedback, you can just respond to it and say what the facts are, and that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to say that a DVD box set was sent in a padded mailer, and when I get this back, I will then tack on to the end of it that a refund was given. That's all that it is. It's a fact. Refund will be given because an item was damaged in the post. Maybe I'll say damaged in the post as well. But that's it. So what we're going to do now, we're going to move on. We're going to leave this negative feedback behind, and we're going to talk about what we're able to buy in thrift stores and on Facebook Marketplace this week. And then we're going to talk about what we're able to sell on eBay. I think I've got a couple of Depop's and Facebook Marketplace sales for you too. And a reminder, anything that I've talked about today, any photos you want to see, they're all on flipweekly.com. Just go to flipweekly.com and check them out. But look, what I bought, we got lucky when the week started. Because if you walk into your standard thrift store and you look for video games, what are you going to find? Say it right now with me. What are you going to find? You're going to find 10 copies of Wii Fit. You're going to find a decade of FIFA on PlayStation 2. And you know what? If you're lucky, you're going to find some brain training on DS. How lucky of you. But what happens when you make a deal with the devil for killer thrift store finds? I'm going to tell you, because I was in Lifeline and strategically placed behind a box of Barbies. You know what I found? And I couldn't believe it when I saw it. A Nintendo Classic Mini. A miniature Nintendo console released in 2016, preloaded with 30 games. You know, this console, it differed from the original 80s release of the Nintendo Entertainment System because it had high definition versions of people's favorite games. And it came in like this more compact size. You can play your Marios, you can play your Zeldas, all preloaded onto this Nintendo Entertainment System Classic Mini, whatever you want to call it. If you find these in thrift stores, which, I mean, I have proof right here that I have, and they're in the box, you're going to make good money. But I will say, up top right now, thrift store pricing, man, it truly baffles me. Like just a few minutes earlier, I found this small sandwich bag of Simpson figurines. You know, the Greetings from Springfield ones, the ones that have the little tags on their legs. I wanted to find them for a while, but they were priced at $60. There was like 10 of them in a bag. Like, I can't see anyone outlaying that sort of cash for these Simpson figurines. You go onto eBay, you can get 10 of them for like $30, right? But then you turn around and you have a Nintendo console complete in box for $30. Like, I'd usually be skeptical, but everything inside of the box looked good. And once I got home, I opened it up, I tested it, everything worked. Like, no issues whatsoever. What's the go? So you look on eBay right now for comps of this. Nintendo Classic Mini, inside the box, pre-owned of course, $175, $170. I paid $30. We're going to turn 30 into close to $200 off this incredibly, like, one-off Nintendo find inside of a Lifeline thrift store. But here's the thing, man. Here's a reminder for you. If you find something like this in a thrift store, do not put it down. Like I said, this was behind a basket of Barbies. I had to, in a way, dig for it, right? And I was taking photos and I was taking videos so I could, create content for Flip Weekly, create content for you. And then I saw, like, I was distracted, right? Like, easily distracted, Matt. I saw, like, this cute Pluto hat from Disney World. And I'm like, oh, that's cute. I picked it up. I, like, took a photo of it, sent it through to my girl. Like, oh, look, this is cute. It's like $2 from, one of those Disney World places. This guy comes up behind me and grabs the Nintendo. And then I had to, politely tell him that, like, my germs are all over this thing. And he quickly backed off and he started asking me questions like, oh, what's this worth? What is that? Blah, blah, blah. So don't put this stuff down. If you find it in a thrift store, do not put it down. It should be common sense. But if you're that distracted like me, you see a cute Pluto hat, and then you're like, oh, I'll just put the Nintendo, this $200 Nintendo down and pick up this $2 Pluto hat. You need to, be reminded of this at times. And, worst case scenario, you put it down, somebody picks it up and they don't put it down when you say this is mine. I've coughed all over this. You'll have to break knees. You don't want to be breaking knees in a Lifeline, although you would be in a great location in a Lifeline. Oh, Lifeline doesn't revive people. No, they stop people from getting hurt. Anyway. I've listed the Nintendo up. It's on eBay right now for $180. It's on Marketplace for $150. We'll see how we go. But speaking of Marketplace, we have a lot of Marketplace success here at Flip Weekly. We really do. But sometimes our gambles do not pay off. I'm going to tell you a real quick story about this next gamble that could have made us $1,000. $1,000. Right? Back in June. You'll remember because I was excited about this. I had the chance to visit my family for what felt like the first time in a long time, right? But what does a dude do? That's quite hard to say. What does a dude do when he's, I guess, mildly obsessed with deals? A dude like me, they change their location on Marketplace and they look up deals for where they're going to be in the next week. Right? I feel like a basketball player, famous basketball player, where they say, oh, I'm going to be in Miami next week for an away game. They change their location on Tinder to try and get some matches already, right? No, I'm doing that, but for Facebook Marketplace deals. So I changed my location to where Sam lives, and I found a deal that had just been posted 58 minutes ago. Facebook, their beautiful, beautiful algorithm, they fed me something that I got excited about. The title was just Apple Laptop Vintage, just listed $200. You know what it was? It was an Apple iBook. It was an Apple iBook G3 clamshell laptop in the blueberry color, in the blue color. So this is from the late 90s, early 2000s. If you see a photo of this, you're going to be, flooded with nostalgia. Like this specific laptop, this G3 line, it was the first of 3 design styles for the Apple iBook. Oh, I keep saying iBook. It's iBook. This thing was around for like 7 years. They came in all different like neon colors. And at the time, this specific design, it was a departure from all of the other laptops, all the other personal computers that were just focused on, boring colors. Then Apple came out with these clamshell laptops that came out in like the bright green, bright blue, bright orange. They honestly, you look at these, this is early 2000s nostalgia, bright neon colors. The thing is, any non-tech savvy person, anyone that isn't familiar with, laptop specs, they weren't anything really special, right? They had your standard CD drive, USB ports, operating system. The differentiation, it was purely the color. So I saw this iBook, said it right at that time, on Marketplace for $200. And I said, I want this. Sent him a message, told him I'll be, at Sam's the next day. And it was agreed. I'll pay $200 cash. And I paid $200 cash, even though the description said it wasn't powering on. That's right. It wasn't working. I wanted to take that risk. Why? Because I knew there was a Apple repair center in Sydney very close to me that does a lot of Apple repairs. They do PS5 console repairs. I need to take my PS5 in there so they can fix the disc tray. I have that PlayStation 5 that has that disc issue when they first came out, and I didn't play it that much, so I never got around to it. And then my girl bought me this game and I can't play it because the PS5 came out with a faulty disc tray. Like, what the f***? Anyway, goddamn Sony, right? So I knew I could take it in there. They could take a look at it, and best case scenario, I was thinking, if this isn't powering up, it might just need like a new power adapter. It might just need a new battery. And all these things you can pick up for like $100. And when you look at sold comps for these G3 clamshell laptops on eBay, $1,000 within Australia. They are rare. They're hard to find. If they're working, you can get good money for it. So I picked it up. I got Sam to drive me. I got to Sam's place. I'm like, you drive me out to, around the corner. I got a marketplace deal. Been there for like 5 minutes. So this guy gave me the laptop. It came with the old adapter. It came with a mouse. It came with a few different manuals. And then I got it back to Sam's. I attempted to power this thing on, and I could hear like this ticking noise in the power adapter. So eventually I did some research, and I found out that the cord was fried. This ticking sound usually meant that the power cord was fried. So I took it into this repair center. I left it with them for a few days. It was only going to cost me like $40 for them to diagnose the issue. And, from there, you get to decide whether or not you go ahead with the repairs or you don't. Okay? We look at those sold listings and we can see that we can get $1,000 for it. We have wiggle room for these repairs. So we're $200 in. If we just need a new power adapter, that's $100. Takes our cost of goods up to $3. It'll leave us with $7 profit, right? Even if the repairs are a bit more, I think we can still make money. So I don't write about it. I don't include it in Flip Weekly because I wanted this sort of saga to go from beginning to end, see what happens. Technicians call me. I was right. Power adapter's fried, as expected. But he tells me also hard drive is corrupt. To make matters worse, he tells me it's impossible to tell whether the screen on this thing is usable or not until after the initial repairs are made. And he tells me that the approximate quote is about $500 best case scenario. So if I invest $500 into this, I'd be into the laptop for $700. And if we're going for an expected sale price of $1,000, there's not much wiggle room there, right? So if the screen doesn't work, after we throw $500 at the problem, it could send me into the red. We could end up paying $1,300, $1,400 to get this fixed just to sell it for $1,000. I want to get the laptop working. I really do. I think it's an amazing piece of personal computing history. I know Apple collectors love this sort of stuff. But financially, it just doesn't make sense. It pains me to say that too. I rejected the repairs. I said no, brought it home. And it looks like the future of this laptop is just for reselling it for repairs only. However, looking at the sold listings for repairs, there was one in the US on bid that got up to $328 untested. Another one that sold for $350. So it looks like I'm going to break even on it. It's a shame because I do like to gamble. It was definitely worth the risk. And you don't see this sort of technology on Marketplace too often. But like when you do, you should always be interested in it because vintage Apple is always going to be big money. I went into it knowing that, and unfortunately, the gamble just didn't pay off. It would have been nice if it did. It didn't. Whatever. We move on. Earlier we found that Nintendo in a thrift store. The thing is, apart from that find, we really didn't have much luck in the thrift this week. You'll know if you've been listening to Flip Weekly for a while that I'm primarily trying to find $100 plus items in thrift stores. I don't pick up anything less than that unless it truly interests me or I know I'm going to get a sale almost instantly. So I leave behind a lot of like $30, $40, $50 items. The days go by this week without a killer find. I'm thinking that, I'm a bit bummed out. I feel like one of those first responder rescue dogs, right? They search and search and search. They come up empty. Their morale drops. And then it forces, the dog's trainer to bury an item and they find it just so that things don't give up. That's how I felt this week, going into thrift store after thrift store, not finding anything. The beauty of doing this is we can fall back onto Facebook Marketplace over the weekend, and that's what we did. First, what I missed out on Facebook Marketplace, it was going to be the find of the week, I guarantee it. I'm still not over it, right? Like, I had a friend over on Saturday, and we were watching Conor McGregor's return to the ring, paid $60 for that pay-per-view, 100% not worth it. Once he left, I saw an item had been up on Marketplace for 40 minutes, and I know if I wasn't consumed by that pay-per-view, I would have snagged it. What it was, so cool. I've posted the photo on flipweekly.com. It's a Nintendo Game Boy Pocket Star Wars Adventure Pack from 1996, complete in box. You know, I don't always buy video games. Facebook just feeds me this stuff. It looked so cool. It contained like your standard silver Game Boy Pocket, had a Star Wars game in this really, really attractive long rectangle box. Everything was inside of it, and they had it on Facebook Marketplace for $200. Everyone else that has this on eBay, I see one right here, $1,258, 52 people watching it. I would have listed this up on eBay for $1,000. I'm still not over this goddamn thing. $200 into $1,000. That would have been if I didn't buy this pay-per-view, right? This is what you get for having a friend, you know? Although, I got to see Conor McGregor's career end in real time, so in a way it was worth it. But we move on from that and we get into what I actually bought, what I spent money on, what I outlaid. I'm not usually buying these things, but I came across these Pokemon collectible figures, and once I saw they had some functionality to them, I had to look them up. If they were just normal figures, you know, who cares? But they had functionality. They were listed on Marketplace as Pokemon Light Up Toys figures. That's what it was, 34 minutes ago, $50. And such a general, generic title, to me that says the buyer isn't too aware of what they've got. It also means they haven't listed them on eBay and then cross-posted them to Marketplace with their eBay title. So I scroll across his photos, and these two figures, there's a Mewtwo and a Charizard. They look very, very cool lit up. Both of these figures were working. Mewtwo's entire body had a light into it. You know, he's holding these orbs. Charizard, he has his, you know, his tail, it glows bright orange. I couldn't find an exact comp for the Charizard, but this Mewtwo figure is actually a deluxe figure by a company called Jazzwares, and this figure sells in Australia for a lot of money. I'm looking at a sold comp from April. Oh, it's from April. Okay, it's from April. Doesn't matter. It's still a sold comp. This figure is rare to come by. $180 plus $13 postage, so it's about a $200 figure. Now, your boy was in too much of a rush, and I didn't see that Mewtwo was missing an orb. He only has one orb. This thing doesn't have two balls. He only has one ball. He's like Dave England from Jackass. I went and saw Jackass last night, so Jackass is in my mind. This is a Dave England style Pokemon figure. So missing a ball, I can't list him up for the full $200 on eBay. I'm disappointed. I've combined the two on Marketplace for $100. I'll double my money, but it was a bad buy. You know, bad buy, Matt. Bad boy. Don't do that again. Always check your items. Make sure they're complete. Make sure they're not missing any parts. That's my fault. But still, we'll turn 50 into 100 providing they sell. But the next item is something that I'm always buying. You'll of course know what I'm talking about. It's for good reason I always buy these though. It was a Facebook Marketplace listing for a Canberra Raiders jersey for $60. What it was a 1995 Canberra Raiders jersey. I messaged the guy within like 30 minutes of this being up. It went from available to pending very quickly. Somebody else was interested in it. So I thought I'd lost the deal, but it went to available a few hours later. And I pounced on this thing. I paid $60 for this jersey, 1995, hard to find, sponsor patches in good condition. They had the number 7 on the back. I have listed on eBay right now for $300, so that'll be 60 into 300. And then again, I got lucky. Something else a bit familiar, but I got it for a great price, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. The title of the listing was Small Sydney Swans Pride Jersey, $30, listed 39 minutes ago. Turned out to be a 2001 AFL Sydney Swans Pride jersey, but It has the GPS pouch, meaning that at one point in time, this thing was going to be used by a player. You know, this jersey alone, it's quite rare. But then you add in that pouch, you got yourself something worth a lot more than $30. I'm testing the waters at $199.95 on eBay. I don't know if I'll get that. It might be listed a tiny bit too high. You know how sports players are, sports fans are with pride and all that sort of stuff. Nothing wrong with it. Jersey's in good condition. $200, 30 into 200, we will see. Now, if you want to see photos of any of that stuff, go to flipweekly.com. It's about all that I want to talk about in terms of what I bought for the week. There's a few other things, but, you know, just not that interesting or not that great of a return. But again, the newsletter, flipweekly.com, you can see all of that. I think we should move on to what we sold, because we sold a lot of stuff. Last week, we had the huge book haul. You know, all those rare books. I spent $500 on them, and I was sort of nervous that there wasn't going to be any interest. We have 2 storage containers full of these things. They're heavy books. The last thing we want is to be holding onto them for, you know, months at a time, years at a time, you know. My nerves were quashed this week, and they were quashed very quickly because the week started out strong with the first series selling for full price. Now, I've attributed $40 buy prices to most of these bundles. We have sold Cardcaptor Sakura volume 1 to 4 for $200. So 40 into $200 on just 4 books here. You know, this is the sort of book you can definitely find in your local op shop. You know, it would immediately get my attention because these books, they're thick. They're thick like an omnibus, right? They have the Dark Horse Comics publisher logo on the spine. And to me, that indicates like a valuable series. And it also ticks the box for being very Japanese. You know, I don't know anything about these books. I just know that it ticks all the boxes in terms of what's going to be valuable. You know what? Let's look into what this book is actually about. Okay, so we got it up. 10-year, this is the synopsis, okay? 10-year-old 4th grader Sakura Kinomoto opens a mysterious book in her family's basement and accidentally releases the magical claw cards. By her ability to open the seal, Sakura is revealed that she was born with magical powers, and it becomes her responsibility to retrieve the missing cards. The task involves finding each card, battling its magical personification, and sealing it away. That sounds innocent enough, right? It doesn't sound like you know, skimpy Japanese bikini manga that they seem to portray. Anyway, if we find just one of these books in a thrift store or an op shop, I mean, if you do, you're in for at least a $50 payday for each book. Given how quickly they sell, it's going to be a fast payday for you. So just keep your eye out. Go into Flip Weekly and just look at all of those rare books that we bought, all of those Japanese ones, and just make your own identifications. See if there's a trend, see if there's patterns. Go out into the thrift store and try and hunt those down. So that was a $200 sale. That was good. Next, we move on to another sale, and we've managed to turn a $30 Facebook Marketplace find into $200. Very short amount of time. To be fair, it was a no-brainer. You know, it was a no-brainer when you hear what it is. We spent $30 on an Xbox One X, and we flipped it into $200 in 4 days. It was just 4 days. This was a dream deal, man. This was a fully boxed Xbox with a controller. It came with a popular game that was just tucked inside of the box, and it came with all of the cables except for the power cable, which I just added to it, right? No issues picking it up, no issues testing it, just a pure, clean flip. Like, you gotta love that, right? $30 into $200. I've posted a video about that on social media if you want to check it out. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. You can see a video of me finding that. But look, next. A trilogy of books that cost me just $8 in savers, and I sold it for $100 cash on Facebook Marketplace. It was book 1 to 3 of Steve Jackson's Fighting Fantasy series. Now, you're going to want to Google this or look it up, view it on Flip Weekly. Keep an eye out for this Fighting Fantasy logo on, you know, the small sci-fi pocket books. If you see this logo and you find a huge bundle of these books, you are going to get paid. Put the name Steve Jackson, put the name Fighting Fantasy into the back of your brain. Sold comps right here. If you can find volume 1 to 51 of this, $1,800 sale in the UK. You see resellers in Australia trying to hunt down Goosebumps. 52 books in Goosebumps. You're going to make, what is it, like $500 by now? Might have gone down a bit, $600. I know in that Whatnot auction that I was a part of, when I had the full series, it sold for like $300. This is 1 to 51 of Steve Jackson's Fighting Fantasy. Almost $2,000. The priorities are not straight, people. Look for this. Don't look for Goosebumps. Don't look for Animorphs. Fighting Fantasy, 1 to 51, $1,800. Remember that name, Steve Jackson, Fighting Fantasy. Repeat it 5 times, Steve Jackson, Fighting Fantasy. Get it into your brain. I'll probably forget it, once I stop recording this podcast, but if you remember it, you'll make money. Something I don't remember is the next flip. It was South Park: The Stick of Truth, Grand Wizard Edition on the PlayStation 3. This was like a boxed figure with the game. I remember buying it from a Salvos, but I didn't realize it was all the way back in December 2024. I don't know why, whether it's like on a bad console, the PlayStation 3, or if I overpriced it, or if there was no interest. I don't know. And I don't have the data for how much I paid for it. It wouldn't have been anywhere close to my sale price, but we have sold that for $130. Can't remember how much I bought, but $130 sale price for South Park: The Stick of Truth Grand Wizard Edition. Next, an early 2000s brand that doesn't look expensive, but it just sold for triple figures. This was an intact, never removed Air Hogs accelerator that was bought for $9 and sold for $110. This was just 30 days ago that I found this. The sell-through rate for this kid's outdoor toy was just incredibly fast. Google Air Hogs just for the logo. If you find these things out in the wild, pick them up. $110 for this thing. No brainer, right? Next sale was a Polly Pocket. We bought a huge bundle. They are selling every single week for between $50 and $150. This one was Polly Pocket Horseshoe Saloon. Came with 2 original figures, lit up, sold for $69.95. And that is about all of the sales that we've had this week. I don't have anything else to say to you except roses are red, violets are blue. I drew him a Pikachu. He responded, "You're a bit slow. Fuck you." Have a great week.
Flip, 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 flip.
Flip Weekly.